God. Sorry.
You pass me a paper towel.
Sure. God, you told me turn on the camera and she got nervous. You ain't nervous.
I'm not nervous. I just wanted to eat. That's it. I just want to eat. That's it.
Do you hear what she's saying to you? We talking about you and she talking about, I just want to eat
I do.
the food you have provided.
I just wanted to talk and eat and be.
Listen, anyway, God, we were just talking to you about, when you said that your word is a lamp unto our path. And I was just telling you and my daughter, Father God, that there was a time I remember I was going through something really, really bad. And I had asked you, I said, God, please, they could do anything, but don't let them take my mind. Because I remember what it felt like when I was in depression before. And I felt like I was literally losing my mind. And I asked you that. And so you were telling me now about the praise and worship songs that I had mentioned before, that back in May of 23, when I was praying and fasting and seeking you diligently, and you said that I know all these praise and worship songs, but do I know any of your words? That's what you had asked me, and I didn't know any of your words. The word, let me not lie. The one that I always remember was For God So Loved the World. That one, yeah, I remember that one. But I really didn't know any of your word. And so you was just saying, Ashley, that talking about the Bible verse where when the devil, and Pastor was saying that when the devil gets to our mind, talk about that. Please.
No, I just want to eat. I just think that, no, I understand. I'm just saying, it doesn't matter. Whatever. I was just saying that when the Bible talks about, well, God let us realize that what the devil tries to do when he gets to your faith, because on this journey he tried to get to our faith, and he was essentially trying to get to our relationship with God. The whole November was just a testing of a new level of faith that God was building in us. And it was trying because God could have did what he wanted on November 7th, but he knew we were going to miss out on that opportunity on the first wave. And so every time after that, I was just having faith. And it's like, I thought that he would do it now. He'd do it now. And it was the 21st, and that day it crushed me. Because I said, I'm not leaving here until God, leaving the position of where I was sitting, just waiting on God. I said, I'm not leaving here until God does what he promised me. I've been having faith. I've been doing this. We were getting mommy dressed up, getting ready, because he told us to do that, and was doing everything. And I just felt so crushed. And that's when God had told me, that's when I saw two angels, and they were just, the next day was when I saw two angels, but I saw, and one of them was hugging me, or two of them was hugging me. One was hugging me, and then another was looking, like another instruction it said was about to come. But I went into that bathroom that Friday, and that's when I first saw the two angels, and they were there standing side by side next to me, and then they were side by a corner, and I was just so crushed because nobody understands when you live a death, but you're breathing on earth and God gives you the opportunity of new life. You just want that new life so bad. Not that you're coveting it. It's just that it's at your fingertips, but you can't touch it yet. And in that time, God was telling me the next day on the Saturday, because he had us watch Latarius and Ashley Whitfield's wedding. And it was like he was showing me the things that he was going to do, that he promised and said was a part of his Swiftly, and said, like, showing that it was still on track. But I was just still so crushed. And so I just wanted to watch one-on-one and just relax. And then it was like, I felt like he gave me the okay to watch 101, so I just started watching an episode of 101, and then it was after church service on Sunday. Pastor Dr. Joel, he did a really good sermon, and it was talking about the lion's den, and the title of the sermon was "Lifted Out the Lion's Den." And it was just showing me that right now I'm just surrounded by lions, but their mouths are shut. And they can't do anything because the angel closed their mouth. Daniel was in a den with lions, but they couldn't feed on him. They just could stare and move around, but they couldn't do nothing to him. And he was just showing us, you're lifted out of the lion's den. That you're just surrounded by lions, but they can't touch you. And so the weight of that, God was just kept saying that we were having faith for this week, faith for this week, faith for this week. But what he did on Saturday was he kept saying God is close to the brokenhearted and those who are crushed in spirit. But all he said was God is close to the brokenhearted. And I didn't want to hear that. And so I wanted to run. I was running away to watch 101, essentially. Because I was just so crushed. My spirit was so crushed. And it was to the point where I didn't have no words. The words were just tears. And every time I would just bawl.
Your spirit was crushed because of the weight.
I think my spirit was
waiting
just
on God's
crushed.
timing.
I think it was just crushed because of everything.
Okay.
Because I was just having faith.
Yeah.
And that's when God let me realize, after that sermon, he told me, he said, when things get harder, you don't run away from me. You run towards me. And so I said, okay. And then I started being able to put that into practice later on. The second thing he told me was that a few days after, I think it was that Monday, he said, he let us realize that Sunday night or that Monday night, it was the Sunday night, he let us realize that what the devil was trying to do was to play with our faith. I thought it was God trying to play with me. God wasn't playing with me.
Like he was testing our faith, but it wasn't God.
No. It's not that the devil was testing our faith. No. The
God.
devil. No, but hold on.
Okay.
Before we get to what God was doing, he showed me first what the devil was doing. He showed me what the devil was doing was trying to attack our faith. Because what happened is while Daniel was in the lion's den, Daniel still had faith that God was going to get him out. When Pastor was talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace, they went into the furnace having faith that either which way it went, they were still not serving the Nebuchadnezzar's God. Whatever fake God Nebuchadnezzar, they said, I'm still not. God is like, they were adamant on still serving God. And so he showed me what the devil was doing. I thought it was God playing around with my faith, God playing with me. And it wasn't God playing with me. It wasn't God playing with my faith and thinking that, he wasn't trying to play with me. He said, like, that was the devil trying to play games with me. And he told me, now that I see what the devil is doing, I could, now that I know what the devil is doing, now I can see what God is doing. Something like that. He said, now that I know what the devil is doing, I can now see what God is doing. And so what God was doing at that time was building perseverance. There's a scripture that talks about let the testing of our faith
produce character and
can you
character.
look it up? Let the testing of our faith. I think it's James, and it talks about the testing of our faith. You can have it. It's on my notes actually. I don't know really where.
You could continue talking. I'll look it up.
No, can you pass me your notes, please?
Your notes? Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. So he was saying...
Excuse me.
Because he was talking, he said, when the devil can't get you anywhere else, the one place he attacks you in is in your heart. Because that's how he could attack your faith. In your heart lies your spirit. That's where your spirit man is. And that's where your faith is.
And there's a
so when he tries to, when Pastor did the series on faith, he was talking about how it lies in your heart. So what the devil tries to do is he gets to your heart, because once he gets to your heart, he could get to everything else. When it says love the Lord our God with all our heart, all our soul, and all our mind, once he gets to your heart, he can get to your mind, and then he can get to your soul, automatically getting into your mind once he had entrance into the heart. And that's why God says that we have to guard our hearts. But we can't guard our hearts on our own because we don't know what we're guarding it from. And so we need God to help guard our hearts. And so during this time, I thought it was God playing with me, but it wasn't God. It wasn't God playing with me.
What do you mean God playing with you? Like testing your faith?
I thought that he was just playing with my faith, like to see if I have faith or something. Or he just saw the weakness of me, and he's just not doing anything but trying to make me weaker. And it's like all of this time, if you're testing my faith, then all this time I have faith in you. I still have faith in you. Like, what are you doing? I just didn't understand what he was doing. And I felt like he was playing with my emotions. And so it wasn't him doing it. It was the devil trying to attack and making it seem that it was God. And then what God told me, he said, now that you have the revelation of what the devil is doing, now you can see what God is doing, which is testing your faith. I thought that God was playing with my emotions, but what he was doing was testing my faith. And the devil was using my emotions against me because I knew that God was going to do it. I had so much faith that God was going to do it, but I didn't hear the words, you would have seen it come to pass. And I literally saw it come to pass. And I just had even more faith, and I just didn't know. I was at a point where I was like, even God, I said, God, I don't know where we're going to go after this. On that November 21st, I think, I said, I don't know where we're going to go after this, because I just felt so crushed. I just felt like I didn't have anything else in me. And he knew. And it says in James 1 verses 3-4, it says, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, let perseverance finish his work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. At that time, I didn't even get to the part where it was the verse before it, where it was talking about, like, consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters, whenever you face trial of any kind. I didn't have that perspective because I didn't understand what was going on. I just thought that God was trying to play with my emotions, even though he understood I was already in a vulnerable, crushed state. And that wasn't God doing that. It was the devil turning around what God was doing. Because what God was trying to do was build perseverance, produce perseverance in me by testing the faith, because he was bringing us on a new level of faith and was telling us we're going to have faith this week. And that was the last week of November. So he was building that in order to build and work in and allow me to be mature and complete so I don't lack anything. I didn't see that in that part. I didn't get that perspective until after. And so I say that to say, like, this is how it goes back and ties to when it talks about loving the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. Once the devil gets to your heart, he gets to everything else so easily. And so that's why it's important, because when he's getting to your heart, he's attacking your faith. That's why you see situations before you see God do the promise. Sometimes you will see the devil tainted. And that's why you have it so, I don't want to say defiled, but it's corrupted. And so a vision of love, he'll show you first before you see what God's true love is. So that when God tries to give you it, you can't accept it. Or if it's not even love, if it's just provision, he'll give you a false sense of provision, a false understanding of provision. So when you have to see God as your provider, it's a struggle for you, because he only allowed you to see and be accustomed to, because that's what you drew into unknowingly or knowingly, subconsciously drawing into and going into what you thought was provision and it wasn't. And so that's why with God, you have to relearn, because in relearning, it allows you to see the trueness of what you should have been taught, the foundation of what you should have been taught, but what the devil had tainted, what you unknowingly allowed him to untaint in your life. So he'll sometimes show you the bad aspect of it, posing as the real thing, and it'll stop you. Some people, it'll stop them from going after the real thing God has for them because they're scared. That's how fear happens. That's how we don't want to open our hearts again, because he tries to close the heart so you never have access to the open vast land that God has for you. And so you don't know nothing different, because Fear is moving and making decisions for you instead of faith. And so you're not moving off of faith anymore because you tried that the first time. You tried that the second time, but you're scared to do it a third time because you feel like you're foolish. And it has a saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't put the blame on you. I know that's a J. Cole part, but it's a fool me one time. You know, in the J. Cole lyric, he said, fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't put the blame on you. Fool me 3 times, forget the peace sign. And then he's saying all the other things I can't say. But I say that to say, it's like, you fool me 2 times. For the first time, okay. You fool me a second time, but that third time, nah, you're not catching me. And it's like, that's how it is with us and God. We've been fooled multiple times off of what the real thing, quote unquote, is. Not understanding that when it's time for God to really give us the real thing, it's like we can't even accept it because our heart is tainted. And so that's why when God says he's building a new heart in you and a new mind in you, it's a process. Spiritually, it happens first. So spiritually, yes, he's building that. He has already started the process before you even knew that he was building that in you. But as you go physically down the line, that process takes time. Because you don't know what kind of working God is doing in and through you. And he doesn't just stop at the work. He continues on farther beyond the work. And so what the devil tries to do, he just tries to taint it. Because the devil doesn't have much power as we really put him on. He only uses us to magnify how big he is, and he's not. And I think that's the problem. Sometimes we look at the devil as God and God as the devil, when it's the opposite. And it's because of what he's tainted our minds. And that's why God has to build a new mind and a new heart in us. Because if not, if God don't build that foundation, it's hard to get there. And what God is teaching me is foundations are hard to build. But once you get that solid ground of the foundation, everything else on top of it is easier. Not saying that it's like a whole easy project to build. No, building a building, if you ever saw the process of building a building, it takes time. But once they get the foundation, once they get everything that's needed for it to solidify the foundation, building on top of that building on top of that foundation is not as hard as building the actual foundation. But once the foundation is set, everything else can build on top. But you have to be on a firm foundation. And so that's what God does. Since you weren't on a firm foundation, he has to build that firm foundation of him in you that you're not used to. And that takes time for you to adjust to. That takes time and warfare to build you up so that you now have the power to overcome different circumstances and different things that you weren't overcoming before. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you see you growing spiritually. That's how you see your maturity growing even more. That's how you see yourself becoming the new person. And sometimes you don't see it until down the line because of how much you're fighting. But it's really more so fighting with the lie. And God is doing more of the fighting. But it's you fighting the lie. It's you trying to hear God's voice in the midst of all the chaos and all the things that he's trying to put in front of you. And he'll try anything. He'll use anybody. He will use little children. He will use adults. He will use you against yourself. He knows you're struggling with depression. He knows you're struggling with suicidal thoughts. He knows you're struggling with your self-worth. And anytime God puts something that makes you think otherwise, he is going to put a harsher word on top of what God is, because it's a harsher word because that's what you truly believe in your heart. It rests there. And so that's why God has to cleanse out that heart so it no longer sits there. Because once he gets in your heart, he gets in your soul and he gets in your mind. He has control over your whole being. And you didn't even know. Because he did that with me. And he's definitely doing it with other people. And that's how he gains power. The only way he can gain power is through deceit. The only way he can gain power is through the lies you believe about yourself. But once you shift and overcome those through the process that God takes you, he don't have that much power. Because your focus is no longer on what he's doing. Your focus is more on what God is doing. Because once I realize what he is doing, I can now focus on what God is doing. I can see what my Father is doing. And he did the same thing. God told me I was going to get married. And he said that I'm going to meet my husband. Last year, he said that. And it was weird because I was so used to not seeing it around. I was so used to, So many people saying God told me, God told me. I didn't see healthy marriages. I didn't see none of that. And if I saw healthy marriages, they were very minimal. I wasn't around them enough. I saw marriages I didn't want, though. I know that. I didn't want it. I didn't know much about the marriage. I just saw how the interaction was. I said, I don't want that for myself. Ended up still having that for myself. It wasn't a marriage, but it was other sources of relationship, because I didn't know the grounding of what I needed to avoid. I didn't know what it was I needed to avoid. I just knew I didn't want that, but I didn't know what that was. And so I didn't have word or knowledge for it. So when I went into it, it was more so me going into what I was used to and thinking it was the norm, when really I didn't want that truly for myself, but I didn't feel worthy of it. So it didn't make sense for me to go after something I didn't feel worthy of. And so that's why God had to change my mind and make me understand, no, you're worthy of it. It's not that I'm worthy of God redeeming me, but he did it because of who he am and who he is. And so, yes, I'm not worthy. I don't deserve it, but I can't sit in I don't deserve God to do the working that he wants to do in me. If he feels like I'm valuable, if he's telling me I'm valuable, if he is building me up, what it is that we remain in humility so we don't think we're bigger than God or are God. And that's why we don't think that way. But don't continuously put yourself down and say, oh, I'm not worthy of this, I'm not worthy of that. If God called you to it and put you to it and made the path cleared for you to be in it, you are worthy of it. He would have never put someone unworthy in a position. And if he did, it was still for a purpose. But he didn't put you in that position because you're unworthy of the position. He put you in it because he built you up to be able to handle the position that he's called you to. And so I know I'm saying a lot of different things, but I don't know. I know for me, when God had told me that with the husband, it took a while for me to get used to that idea. One, because he told me I had to say it out loud. I was not used to that. And then on top of that too, when he had said it, I wasn't seeing that around. And I heard people say all the time, God told me, this is my husband, this is my husband, this is this is that. And then it ends up in a divorce. It ends up in this and it ends up in that. And you know what God told me? It's not that sometimes God didn't tell those people. That's true. And sometimes God did tell them, but it was their actions. What it is you have a covenant with God, and then it's your human will. Your actions can mess up and break the covenant before he even does it. Before the covenant is even put into place, he'll tell you the breadcrumb of the promise. But before the covenant is even put into place, you're doing your own will in it. So then it pushes back everything. But we blame God because you're using God's name off of something your actions are doing. And it does not mean that he couldn't do it. But why would he give somebody whose actions are literally destroying the covenant that he is making, that he takes so seriously, but you're not taking it seriously because you're doing it off of your will and your want? It's no longer his will. You want his will in the way that you want it, but when he trying to do it his way, you don't want to do it. And then you're surprised when the blessing doesn't come. That's what he was teaching me. Those people are like that. Those people he gave promises to, but they did not do what they needed to do to become it. They were either too lazy to not do it, they wanted to do it their way, and they ended up being their own demise. But it does not mean that God didn't come through with his promise. He did. They just did not want to do the work required because they wanted to do it their way, but wanted his promise their way. When his promise was not just for them, it was for all. And so that's why he was teaching me that. And so we have to renew our mind, because I could have closed myself up so much from relationships. I could have closed myself up from friendships. I could have closed myself up so much because my heart was broken from people and all the things I went through as a child and adult and in general in life. And I could have closed myself up. It was not easy. And I could have closed myself up. But for some reason, God never let me do it. And even when I tried, he never fully let me get there. And I still had a love for people. I was scared, but I still had a love for people. And so he had to teach me boundaries. The things that I lacked, he had to teach me. And so these things take process, but spiritually it happens. Like just once you're saved, literally the moment you believe. That spiritually it happens. Physically, it don't work that way. It's a process, because that's building the foundation he needs to get you where you are spiritually. And so that takes time. And that takes consistent intimacy with God so that you can learn his ways, learn his language. So when he transitions from you talking your language to him and you're learning now his vocabulary, his way of doing things, and he takes you on the spiritual journey with him, you understand it a little bit more. You may not like all aspects of it because that now has to stop you from understanding so much physical and now going into spiritual. So it moves you from what you're used to what you're not used to. And you may not like that at first. It's uncomfortable. I don't even know if you ever get to a point where you're comfortable with it. I think you'll just accept it. Like, I just have to accept that, spiritually you're always going to move how you move. But I understand the benefit of you doing it that way because I don't want you to do it my way. I want your way because I've done things my way and I saw how it turned out every single time. I saw where it left me every single time. So I say that to say when the devil gets to your heart, he gets to your soul and your mind so fast after, and you don't even realize he has taken over. And by the time you do, you're already in your trap. You're already in your hole. And so when he does that and God cleanses it, and it's one demon that come, and then a whole nother 7 come through, at that point, you're crushed. And then you keep doing this yo-yo with God. You just keeping more and more coming. And so that's how it gets harder. That's how you have to fight more and all the things. And so it's a journey and a process. It's a journey and a process. But that's why never let the devil tell you that you're on it alone. You just have to fight a little harder to hear God's voice in the midst of the noise. And he'll help you through that process as long as you stay connected to him. And so that's just the things that he was just teaching me and has been teaching me. And there's still so many things because honestly, it's so much of it's so much of life, but it's also so much of God in it. And I don't realize it until now in this position. Beforehand, I didn't see him in it. I just knew he was there, but the noise and the physical was louder than him. And so I was understanding more of the noise and the physical in the world than I was understanding him. And I was trying to blend the two, but one was louder than the other. I was more used to one than the other. I was comfortable, even though I was uncomfortable with one than the other. I was just trying to find comfort in one when there was true comfort in the other. But I was scared of the other. I was scared of that unknown. I was scared of actually going with God because I didn't know what it meant for me. Because I was so used to needing to do life my own way, my way for protection. I felt like I needed to protect myself because no one on this earth was able to do it. Or I needed to protect myself because I didn't want nobody having that of a responsibility to have to take care of a little girl like me. Forgetting I was a little girl, but I was a little girl who had to grow up fast. And so I say that to say, with that being said, you learn many different aspects of God, but I didn't understand, have knowledge, nothing about God. And all I saw was a tainted view of God. I saw people saying that they worshiped him and praised God, but the way how they were acting, and if it's something like me, I didn't even have a close relationship with God. I just talked to him here and there. But I wasn't really doing things like that and stuff like that. I would think talking to myself was me just talking to myself, but it was really talking to him. And then it's like sometimes I would hear him, but I didn't know that. I didn't have the language for that. And if it's like you're saying like, oh, you deep with God, it's like we take that as a holy grail. Sometimes you're saying, oh, if they have, because that's what I was saying. I said, if I have to be like them in order to know you, I don't want to know you. I'm good. And sometimes what God is saying that we don't even realize is he was hoping that you will come to get to know him, but you knew him from somebody else and how their behaviors were, right? And because that's the first thing that you're going to see. But the thing about it is, just like you don't know them and you're seeing all of that and you don't like it, he don't like it about them either. They're not serving them. So both of y'all are saying, it's like, oh, if I got to get to know you, and I have to be that. And he like, I don't even know them. It's a depart from me, I don't know you type of situation with them. But you don't know that. And then it stops you because he put that at your forefront. The devil put that at your forefront. And you fell for the bait because you thought, because you didn't know. And so he'll use anything. He'll use anything because he knows his time is but short. But when you start having your veils removed and the spiritual eyes are really being shown out, you see things for what they are and not what you want them to be. And no matter how far you try to go to make them something that you wanted to be, you still can't not see the truth. You can only see the truth. And then at that point, you make a decision that you're choosing to be spiritually blind versus you actually being blind. It's two different things. Because once God removes the veils and the scales from your eyes, you see everything. You see everything. Whether you know him or not, you see everything. And then at some point in time, it gets to where you're choosing to live the way you are because he's shown you the state of who you are. And it's up to you to decide, do I want to clean this out or do I want to remain keeping the same way of how I'm living? And that's not an easy decision because, again, that's you having to shut off years of what you only knew. That's you having to shut off years of generations that's been passed down onto you that you think it's you and it created your identity, and it did, but it was never supposed to be your identity. You were called to be something else, but your family line made you something else. And you didn't know.
Deep.
And that's why he says you're not fighting flesh and blood. You're fighting principality. So you can't come to a war with the devil with a gun. You're losing. He gonna let you turn it and put it on you. You have to keep your focus on God. That's the only way.
That's why God says, submit yourself to the Lord. Resist the devil, and he will flee.
And even when you resist him, he gonna come back a new way. And he gonna come back harder because the first thing that he tried with you, it didn't work, but it used to. And now it don't work hard. It don't work no more. So he gonna come back harder. And he gonna hit you harder because he's trying to kill you. He's not your friend. And that's why when sin looks, it looks fun. Until I saw it one time, I saw a Pinterest. It says sin looks fun until it feels like bondage because you can't get out. You can't get out, and only God can take you out because you don't know how many demons you done let into your body. So you have a pure heart, but your heart is so tainted because of how many demons is living inside of it. And that's why only certain things can come out through prayer and fasting. The ones that were in me could only come out through prayer and fasting because it wasn't even, a lot of them, I found out, wasn't even from me. It was from generations that was passed down onto me. So I inherited demons that God had to kill out. And that's how we were fighting the generational curse. So it's not a cutesy thing. This is a serious life and death situation. And I think we make it very cute and it's not. This is serious. This is serious. So when people be like, oh, it's not that serious. All right, to you. Because you don't understand what you're really fighting. Your eyes is blind or you're choosing to be blind. But when you find out, it's like, oh, now I understand. And then you also understand that people who is teaching is not really supposed to be teaching. Whether people that's talking to you on the street trying to evangelize to you, they don't even know God. And you don't even know that until you start getting to know God yourself. So that's why it's so important to have your eyes on God, because then you can see the phonies from the real one. You could see the Pharisees and the Sadducees from the real teachers who are following the Good Shepherd. That's why it's so important to have your eyes on God, nobody else. So when he told me to focus on him and I needed to focus on him and I. Because that's the only way I would understand. When he said focus on you and me, I needed to focus on you and me, on the you and me that he was talking about, the you and I that he was talking about. Because if not, what happens is I go into what I did. I go into Deuteronomy because they was telling me to read my word. But what they weren't telling you is how you read your word. I didn't have the knowledge on that. And some people don't have the knowledge on that. Some people don't. Some people need a step-by-step. And not everything can be a step-by-step. I'm being honest with you. Some things you just have to go through with God, not knowing every direction. A lot of things. Just trusting that His lead. Yes, and trusting that He's not like man. Just because people who are man on this earth claim that they have Him in Him, don't mean that they do. And when you have God, I promise you, He will show you. It don't matter how many people is following that person. He will show you. He will show you. And He got a pathway out for them too. if they choose to want to get out. And so with God, we learn that things are available to us and we don't have to work for it. But we've been so programmed that we have to work for everything in order to find value in ourselves. There's value in you just because of the mere fact that God had put you in his likeness and image and birthed you into this earth. There's value in it because he saw you valuable to allow his son to be the sacrifice, to give reconciliation so he can be with you. That's true value. There's value in the fact that he looks at you and he's pleasing to you, even though you're not pleased with yourself. There's value that even when you're still not of God, he still loves you as his own. And still comes for you when you're lost. Still comes for you when you're vulnerable. Still comes to you when you feel crushed and broken. That's value. Man can't do what God do. And the only way man can do it is if God is in that man to do it. Literally. So he shows you those things. He shows you those things. And so it's only by process. I didn't have no language for none of this. I saw many of my family members in church, but they didn't have faith. Or if they did have faith, it had faith with certain things, but it was a cutoff when it comes to true faith or the next level of faith. They wasn't really serving God. Whatever position they was in, they wasn't really serving him. Because he was not pleased with how they were. He was not pleased with the state of their heart. Because what we see is surface, but he sees the whole picture and the future passed down. So he's not pleased with what you're passing down that you have the opportunity to deal with while you're in earth. So we say free will, free will, free will. But we need to start thinking of free will as life or death, just like how in Deuteronomy Moses says, you don't have to go to heaven for the answer. The answer is right in front of you. Free will is a matter of life and death. It's your choice of life or death. God's will, your will. Dying to yourself is dying to your will. Dying to what you want so you could allow God to do what he desires. Because your will helps you. And you don't know the impact it has on other people. His will helps not only you, but it operates in abundance to help not just you, the generations in, the people on this earth now, but beyond. His goes further. But we don't see that. And so, I don't know. I think it just, and this is why I say it's process. Even me, I know this information, but I still have to feed myself this word with God. I have to still be talking with God constantly. And I only showed up during those moments because I told God, I said, I gave you everything to get everything. I have nothing else left except you. Mm-hmm. I gave everything I had to receive everything. I have nothing else left but you. And that's why it crushed me when I felt like he was playing with my emotions. Because he knows he's all that I have. And I can't do this journey on my own. Yes, I have family. Yes, I have. But they can't take me through certain journeys. It's only God can. Even though they're battling with it, he called certain people in the family to fight those things so that they don't have to battle it as hard. Because they're spiritually blind to it because he called you to do it. To free them. So certain weights they don't understand. Certain weights they have no language towards because they never fought it. And the parents before them didn't. And now also too, since they're not doing it, the next generation ain't doing it. And so that's why it's important, because the free will that we talk about is life or death, and it's a passing down of it. You could get generational blessings or you could get generational curses. And it's a passing down of it. And so I think we need to just view things by just sitting down and really spending the time to just sit down. Don't just make decisions off the whim. You don't know the impact. Don't just say words out your mouth. You don't know the impact. And so I'm not saying be cautious and active on everything, hypervigilant on everything. I think that's the word. I'm not saying be so aware with everything you say. No, just say it with God. Just say it with God. I'm telling you, the more you with God is the more your language shift. The more your mind shift, the more your heart shift. And you're going to be doing things for people that your old heart would have never done. And then that's when you're going to see changes in you. So you'll see it spiritually first before you see it physically. But you have to fight those battles with God. And it's a fight to hear God. It's literally a fight. I feel like spiritual warfare is literally a fight to get closer to God. Because what the enemy wants to do is bring you lower. He wants to bring you to what you're used to. And it's a fight to get closer to God. And in that fight, God builds things in you. He allows you to hear his voice. He allows you to build perseverance so you could be complete and whole and mature, not lacking anything. He allows you to build resilience. He gets you stronger in leadership. And when people are crushing you down, it allows you to see his power even more. He's allowing you to see him more spiritually, even though physically you see him weak. And he's not weak, but you're seeing the spiritual strength. And then when you see his spiritual strength, you see the true size of your enemy. What looked like a big rat that you had to kill. In a dream, I literally had to kill a big rat. What looked like a big rat was a real physical, small, tiny mouse. And he let me see it. So that's how you see the true size of your enemy. That's why David wasn't scared of a Goliath or the armor bearer that was in front of him. He didn't even pay attention to them, the armor bearer. He paid attention to the big guy because he knew how big his God was. And all it took was a stone. And you telling me that man is dead? That was God. And that's why it's important, because he allows you to see the true size of really what you're battling. So he allows you to see the true magnitude. But that's why it's important to see spiritually. And it's a process. I think we need to get into the understanding, including me. It's a process. Certain things, yes, God can do it suddenly. But character builds. You got to build that in you. You got to build that in you. If God just gave it to you, you wouldn't value it. There's certain things that you have to go through. People can't just give it to you. And I had to learn that. There's certain things there's certain wisdom people can't give me. I got to go through that so I can learn it with God. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the journey. But it builds intimacy. It builds a new level. It builds the fact that I could see God as my father and now get to the point after years of being able to allow God to hug me and not feel too weirded out by it. You know what I'm saying? But feel comfortable with it. It takes time. Some people, it takes 10 years. So that's why we can't even look at where other people are spiritually. That's where they need to be. Sometimes it takes us a little time. And that's fine. As long as I'm on the right track with God, that's fine. I'm happy where you are. But I also need to understand that I'm not there yet. And that doesn't mean that because they're there, they're better than me. They're not operating in that they're better than me. They're just sharing the knowledge that they got. They're doing what they're supposed to. I just need to understand and be self-aware. I'm not there yet. It don't mean I won't get there. I'm just not there yet. Either God got that lane for me or he got another one. Or sometimes just God got a unique lane for a certain group of people. And you just might be in that group where not many people understand it. But you got to decide, am I still going to go with God or not? That takes process. That takes breaking. And we don't like it, what it requires, but it's necessary. It's necessary. And so as long as the earth endures, as long as we endure, there will be seed time and harvest. And some people will benefit off of the toil that you work so hard to do with God. And you're going to see them. There was a parable with a servant. He asked, I think he was like a field manager. He asked, look in the Gospels, it's there. And he asked him, we asked one of the guys, he said, do you want to work a day wages? Say son worked at 8 a.m., started early in the morning. And then say somebody come a little later on in the evening. He asked everybody throughout the day, you want to work a day's wages. Then there was one who came, let's say towards the end of the work shift. Let's say he came at like 6 p.m. He got a whole day's wages. He asked him, he said, do you want to work a day's wages? He said, yeah. The shift was over. The one that was starting at 8 a.m., He was like, how he getting the thing and he only worked a couple hours? He said, you said you wanted to work a day's wages, right? He didn't know that from 8 to 6 he would have been working that heavy for a day's wages, and a person who came at 6 something when the shift was basically over was getting the full day's wages that he getting. Sometimes you're going to be working hard and people going to be benefiting off the toil of your hard work. But if you look at that, you're going to decide to now work the 6 a.m. one because now you understand. And that's not what God was teaching in that parable. That's not what God was teaching in that parable. I'm still learning what he was teaching in that parable, but that's not what he was teaching. Don't be like the 6 o'clock one. And it doesn't mean next time a person asks you for a day's wages, you say no to the day's wages. No. It just means that sometimes you're going to be working harder than others because God called you to a different assignment. Mm-hmm. And that's why you can't focus on competing with other people's assignments. They can't carry what you're carrying. And you are not supposed to carry what they're carrying. Both of y'all not supposed to carry it. And I feel like a lot of the times when we trying to make things work out, we trying to make things work out that was never supposed to be a puzzle piece. It's 2 different puzzle pieces that look completely different, but we're trying to make them and maneuver. It don't matter how many times you cut that puzzle piece to try to make it fit into the puzzle, it still won't go because it's not supposed to be placed there. So we try to place things that don't fit. And that's when the competition comes in, because then you think this person's a threat and this, that, and the third. Nobody could compete. Once I learned that, nobody could compete with what God has called you to do. Y'all, there's no way how God is an abundant God and he going to have his children competing off a placement. And he's literally saying there's so much space in heaven. Because not many people going to want to pick the narrow road. He's an abundant God. And you're telling me he don't got enough for everybody? Nah. He don't just give the little, he give all. And then some. So that you could then distribute the then some. And
that's the thing, when God blesses you, he ain't blessing you only. He's blessing you. So you could also be a blessing to others.
Exactly.
Not for you and yourself.
And that come with the heart. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do I have a heart to give to people? Or am I stingy?
But I really believe that because God knows our heart and he sees that if he gives the blessing through you and you won't distribute it to who he wants it to get to, I don't believe that God gonna give it to you because then he can't trust you. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes God would.
Why? God, we having breakfast with God. And so it's me and my daughter, God around the table. And so, but God, why? Like, why do you think?
Because it's about purpose. At the end of the day, it don't matter who is doing it, as long as the purpose is fulfilled.
True, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes
sense. So he'll use anybody.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
He's a God of the just and the unjust. He'll use anybody.
Yeah.
So that's why you can't expect your blessing to come a certain way.
Yeah.
Sometimes God gonna surprise you.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's funny because, God, when I first put the phone on, you put in my spirit, turn the phone on, press record. And my daughter was sitting across from me. You right here, God, as a witness. You having breakfast with us. And she was like, oh, I just want to eat. I just want to eat. But look at that word you gave her.
Because we've been recording a lot. I ain't going to lie. So I was just a little tired. I'm sorry,
But look at that word. That shows that even when you're tired, God could use you. That shows that he uses you at any time.
Yeah.
Because he has to get his word out. And look at the word he gave you this morning so you could be a blessing to me and millions of people.
But this all came in the secret place. These was conversations I was having with God before I could even share with other people. Mm-hmm. These was conversations that he didn't want me to share yet. Mm-hmm. But I was still talking to him in the secret place. So when people be like, oh, when Pastor Joe be talking about he was preaching to the vacuum and he was singing and doing all of these things, and now it's in front of him, it don't make a difference. He's happy for it. But he was doing it while he was having church by himself. Because those are the things that happen in the secret place. Before you get the big stage, can you allow your area to be your big stage? Can you allow the secret places that secret place that you're in with God to be more than enough for you? Or does that value more than him? And I think it just brings questions. I think we need to get back to asking questions to ourselves. Really self-examining ourselves. Not getting critical. That's something I need to work on. I'm very critical of myself. And sometimes it could come onto others too. And I'm really working on that because it could really dismantle a person. But unknowingly or knowingly. I say that to say self-examination is everything. Because then you're asking yourself, what is the state of my heart? What is the state of my mind? What's really going on? Excuse me. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm eating and burping. This is so bad. What is the state of...
We stopped eating because...
what is the state of my heart? What is the state of my mind? You ask yourself these questions, you know? It's very important. It's very important. It's very important. How am I with God? There's sometimes, even on this journey, I be like, God, I feel like I'm not listening to you. I feel like I'm being disobedient. And because I know I am. He'll tell me not to do something and I want to do it. And I'm going to do it. Just yesterday, he told me to go get up and cover my mom with her blanket to cover her because she was going to be cold because she can't get her back. And I said, because I had did it before, and I had told her the next time I'm not doing it because I'm not getting up. I kid y'all not. God literally put a vibration on my feet that would not stop until I got up. And then when I got up, that's when it was like, okay. And on top of that, before I even knew that she had to use the bathroom, he made me have to use the bathroom. And I said, this pee gonna catch me in the morning. I'm not getting up.
And he said, no, you getting up.
He sure did. And he said he was going to let me go back to sleep. And you know what I did? I went on my phone. I wasn't on social media or nothing, but I went on my phone because I was looking up something. And that's when my mom reminded me. By the way, I have to sleep in my mother's bed in this whole journey that we in. And thank you very much for sharing your hospitality with me. But I'm so ready to go back in my own bed. Oh my God. If I knew that the last day I was going to see my apartment physically was going to be in April of 2024, I promise you I would have enjoyed every part of my bed. Every part of my bed. Oh my gosh. But I'm back in the foundation. And this is even purpose too.
Yes.
Because I'm about to share bed with my husband. I can't get so used to just being in a bed by myself. Cause trust me, if it's one thing, I wasn't lonely. I had a moment where I was desperate, though. I'm not gonna lie, I did. I was desperate. I was just taking any and everything from a guy. It wasn't all guys. It was certain guys. And then at some point, it transitioned on without me realizing. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah.
So, God, he told us to record, and we put our food aside just so we could do your assignment, where we get to hear from you. And so we thank you for this morning. We thank you, God. We can't even say we had breakfast with you because we got to go finish eating now. So, God, as you spoke to us this morning, we thank you for every word that you dropped into our spirits. May you continue to watch over us, guide us, protect us. Continue to favor each and every one of us. May your grace go with us wherever we go, and may you give us all peace that passeth all our understanding. We love you. We thank you. We give you praise. We give you glory. We give you honor. Bless the person that's on the other side. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And y'all don't let nobody no matter how much, don't let nobody stop you from experiencing any kind of thing that God has for you. It don't matter what you saw beforehand. God could show different just because that's who he is. So don't let it limit you.
Have a great day, guys.
Bye.